The biggest mistake I see when people decorate is thinking it's just about filling space. Sofa? Check. Table? Check. But that is just logistics. Good design is about composition, arranging things to create height, rhythm, and a sense of story. That is what makes a space feel good no matter your budget. In this video, we're going to break down what truly sets great design apart, the 3 essential layers every room needs, plus the one rule that ties it all together, so you can design a space that truly feels finished. Before we even talk about style or color, you need the right mindset. The biggest design trap is treating a room like a floor plan. Most people decorate in 2 dimensions. They arrange furniture on the floor, sofa here, table there, and call it a day. But everything stays low and the room ends up imbalanced because the upper half of the space is completely ignored. Great design happens in 3 dimensions. That means layering height, depth, and focal points throughout the space. So let's talk about how to actually do it with the 3-layer approach that every designer uses. Instead of thinking flat, start thinking in 3 layers. Layer 1 is your foundation, the core pieces that anchor your space. These are your sofa, chairs, bed, or dining table, whatever the main function of the room is. But here's the catch, they almost always sit low to the ground. And if you stop here, like most people do, your room will always feel unfinished. Layer 2 is your support crew, side tables, coffee tables, consoles, and just as importantly, your lighting. This is the moment to start building upward. Add height with tall bookcases or shelving, a floor lamp, or even a dramatic pendant. Window treatments also belong here. Whether you go for curtains, Roman blinds, or another style, the right window treatment can frame your view and add height. And if you're choosing curtains, here's a quick tip. Hang them high and wide, closer to the ceiling and extending well past the window frame to make your space feel taller and grander. I also like to add horizontal pieces like console tables or sideboards, which I call the launcher furniture. They create a perfect mid-level spot to add vertical interest like a table lamp, a vase arrangement, or leaning art. They help bridge the gap between your low furniture and empty walls. Layer 3 is the cherry on top, your finishing touches. This is where you bring in personality and more visual interest. Art, textiles, greenery, and meaningful objects. Try a tall plant in the corner, art hung at eye level, think 57 to 60 inches from the floor, or a group of objects that tell your story. These are the pieces that immediately add vertical interest and make a space feel curated. And if you're looking at your own space right now thinking, I wish I could see how these layers would look together, that is exactly what Room Visualizer AI is for. You upload a photo of your room and it instantly shows you a completely new look styled to your taste. It's like seeing your home through a designer's eyes without moving a single piece of furniture. It is in beta right now and invite only, but you can join the waitlist via the link below. Now that you've got your layers, let's talk about how to actually arrange them. First, you need to stop seeing a room as one big space to decorate. That is way too large. Instead, you need to think of it as a collection of smaller intentional scenes or moments. A moment is simply a small intentional grouping of things that create a focal point or a corner of interest. I love this approach as it breaks the whole project into much more manageable parts. Let's take a bedroom for example. Instead of hanging art above the bed and calling it a day, you'll create other moments throughout the room. This might be a chair in a corner with a lamp next to it, or a dresser styled with interesting pieces. This approach makes decorating feel way less overwhelming because you're tackling one little area at a time. But the real magic is that these moments give your eyes a path to follow and keep a room from feeling like a static display. Multiple moments make the space feel richer, more layered, and frankly, way more interesting. You'll see this in any well-designed room. Maybe the bed is the main event, but the styled dresser, reading nook, or a bench with stacked books become secondary focal points. The same thing is happening in this living room. There's the wide sectional with the coffee table, and then another moment with the side table and branch arrangement in the corner. And then if you look at the room from the other view, you'll notice that there's a black armchair and fireplace moment as well. The most important rule to remember here is to never leave a piece on its own. Always pair it with something. This might be a lamp next to a chair, art above a table, a dresser with things stacked on top of it. Once you start creating these little scenes, you'll notice your space feels more dynamic and more designed. But how do you make sure all these moments work together and don't look like random corners? That is where the next principle comes in. So you have these beautiful layered moments, but how do you stop them from looking like a collection of random corners? You need a unifying thread. There's a Nordic concept called the red thread, which I talked about in this video on how to pull your whole home together. But it is all about the underlying theme or connecting element that ties a whole space together, creating a sense of continuity. You can create this thread in 3 different ways: through style, color, or material. Style is pretty straightforward, but color and material are the 2 I want to double click on. The idea is when you use color or material, repeat it at least twice or more in a space. This instantly unifies your moments and start to build a subtle rhythm. For example, in this bedroom, they've repeated variations of green in each moment. First, it's featured on the pillow on the bed. Then, the side table vignette has a mint green lamp. They even carry that thread to the hallway. They've got a green bench and artwork. Then, down the corridor is a dark green painting that creates a moment with the red chair. And here in this bathroom, they've repeated the matte navy blue from the bathtub in the vanity with the navy blue sinks. Repetition is what creates unity. But if you want to go beyond cohesive and into designer, you need to distribute your repeating elements around the room, not just cluster them in one spot. That is how you create rhythm, a sense of flow that makes your eyes travel around the whole space. For example, if you decide to repeat brass elements, don't put all of them in one corner. Instead, spread them out. A lamp here, a cabinet handle there, a chair leg across the room. Now your space feels connected, and there's a subtle rhythm for the eye to follow. If you want some help on how to make your rooms feel more cohesive, I've put together a free guide called Secrets to a Beautiful Home. It comes with a decorating checklist that helps you spot these small but powerful details that really pull a space together. While cohesion is important, you don't want things to match too much as it will start to feel flat and predictable. What is missing in a lot of spaces is contrast, the not-so-secret ingredient that gives a room energy, drama, and interest. The easiest way to add contrast is to throw in something unexpected. Just enough tension to make the space feel alive. It is a deliberate break from harmony, which paradoxically makes the space more interesting. Just like with cohesion, you can create contrast through various ways. Color, pair light with dark, or use colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. Example, a dark sofa on a light colored rug, or a pop of red in a mostly green room. Shape, if everything is boxy and square, add some curves. A round mirror, a sculptural lamp, or a circular tray to break up the angles. Scale, play with size. Hang a huge piece of art next to a small vase, or add a tiny stool next to a giant armchair. Contrast in scale always catches the eye. Style, mix eras, like a modern sofa with a vintage side table, or a classic painting above a minimalist console. A little old with new gives your space soul. And texture and finish. This is the advanced move. Try pairing a matte with glossy, like a terracotta vase on a marble countertop. These subtle shifts make a room feel instantly more expensive. You'll spot these kinds of contrasts in any room that feels done, but not boring. In this home, for example, the contrast between the circular dining table and the angular legs of the chair, or the contrast between the light oak of the table and the walnut of the chair. Then there's also the contrast between the rectangular artworks with the sharp corners and the rounded woodwork of the table and chair. Then in the living room, there's a sharp contrast between the smoothness of the coffee table vignette and rough brickwork behind the fireplace vignette. Yet, it is all cohesive through the neutral palette and pops of rusty red. If you want to try it out yourself, go look around your room right now. Pick one item and ask, what is the opposite I could pair this with? If you have a smooth leather sofa, maybe throw a textured blanket on top. A boxy coffee table, maybe add a round tray or an organic shaped vase. At the end of the day, contrast is about confidence. It is about breaking the rules just enough to keep things interesting and doing it on purpose. And if you're ever in doubt, you can never go wrong with a hint of black in every room. It always grounds the space and sharpens the contrast. no matter your style. Now, let's talk about the final layer, how to add those personal, one-of-a-kind details that make your space truly yours. Design rules will get you far, but they'll never make your space feel like you. That is why every room needs something unique, sculptural, or just a little bit weird. Pieces that tell your story. This is about going beyond pure function. Yes, a chair is for sitting, but it can also be a statement or a conversation starter. When you're curating finishing touches, here are 3 tricks to make your space feel one of a kind. Unexpected material. Choose a familiar object, but in an unusual finish. A dining table with a cutout base, a lamp in hand-thrown ceramic. Second, unique shape. Go for pieces where the form is as important as the function, like a sculptural lamp, an arched mirror, or a quirky side table. And third, something a little off, but in a good way. Hunt for those unique or unconventional objects that make you smile, raise an eyebrow, or become a conversation starter. Bonus points for thrifting, flea markets, or Etsy finds that no one else will have. Pieces like these are highly unique, and they're what make a space feel curated and one of a kind. And if you ever wonder, should I get or display this? Ask yourself, is it beautiful, functional, or sentimental? If it checks at least one box, it belongs. If it does all 3, it is a star. The best homes don't feel staged, they feel lived in, layered, and real. Think of it as curating your own personal collection. That is what makes your space authentically yours. So if your space still feels a little off, even though you've got all the right pieces, go back and look at your layers. Are you decorating in 3 dimensions? Is there a thread tying it all together? Are there moments of contrast? If you enjoyed this video, check out this video on what makes a home look expensive and these 12 mistakes that make your home look cheap and how to fix them. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.